Good day, citizens, Vikings, Tingmen, and Shield Maidens. I'm Erik the Cat McKetten, your friendly bearded space Viking, and this is a simple tutorial on renting and choosing the proper weapons for your ship in Star Citizen Alpha 2.5. We're going to go through the basics of how to rent them, how to identify what weapons work on your ship, and how to mount them on your ship. It's going to be really simple, and once we get started, we'll just zip right through it. So, let's not wait anymore. Let's get in there and start renting those weapons. Okay, today we're going to look at purchasing weapons for use within the game using both the Voyager Direct store, which uses UEC credits or game credits, and the Electronic Access store, which uses rental equipment credits. So if you go to the main RobertSpaceIndustries.com website, and you look up under store, you'll get options under in-game for Voyager Direct, Electronic Access, or game credits. Voyager Direct, if you click on it, it says you purchase the weapons with UEC. Right now, the only way to earn UEC is to purchase it outright. It either comes with your game package or by purchasing UEC tokens and then converting them. There's no way to earn it in-game. That will be the currency used in the final game, however. If you go to Electronic Access, you'll see that it lists as REC. That's rental equipment credits. Rental equipment credits are earned in-game in Arena Commander by playing the multiplayer modes. Co-op Vandal Swarm, Capture the Core, Racing, Squadron Battle, and Battle Royale. But they have to be in the multiplayer public modes. They cannot be private. And they cannot be drone sim. And then under that option, you have game credits, and that's where you can actually purchase UEC by using real money. So $5 USD gets you 5,000 UEC. I do not recommend purchasing any weapons right now outright by using real money because they change from patch to patch, and just because you got a good weapon now does not mean you're going to have a good weapon in the future. I have several weapons sitting in my hangar that are probably never going to be used again, and I'm just saving for the point where we can eventually melt them back and get our money back, something we can't do right now. So we're going to go with Electronic Access or rental equipment credits. Click on Electronic Access. We're going to give a whole bunch of options. We can rent ships. Right now, the ships can only be used in Arena Commander. They cannot be used in the Persistent Universe because what you are doing here is you are renting things, virtual items, for the virtual world inside Star Citizen. However, that being said, you can rent weapons and some components and use them in the Persistent Universe. So let's ignore ships for now. We're going to go straight to weapons. Okay, weapons, you get this menu that's got a whole list of items. You got your very puck gimbals. Those are used for mounting weapons that are one size smaller, oftentimes, than the weapons mount you are using this. For example, if I have a size 3 weapons mount and I want to put a size 2 weapon on it, I need to get a size 3 gimbal mount to go on that size 3 weapons mount. And then I can put the size 2 weapon on the gimbal. Gimbaled weapons also have the advantage of, if you are a mouse user, you can control the movement of the weapon independent of the ship. This does somewhat limit your maneuverability because your mouse is first pulling the weapon before it turns your ship, but it does increase accuracy for many players. If you're a stick user, you oftentimes do not want these gimbals to move the way they normally do. So that's where we use what's known as the gimbal lock, which is the right Alt plus J button. When you get in game, will lock your gimbals forward. So here we have a list of weapons, all sorts of them. We have missiles, we have missile racks, we have various guns, we have specialty mounts. This one is for the Hornet, which allows you to mount a size 4 weapon on the Hornet. This one is for the Cutlass. It currently does not function in this patch, but when it does function, it allows you to mount a size 4 on the Cutlass as well. So do not rent this one right now. You're not going to get anything out of it. You got your various missiles, size 1 and size 2. I do not believe they have any size 3 missiles available yet. You have your nose-mounted turret for your Hornet, the N4 160F, also known as the Canard turret, that allows you to mount 2 size 1s on the nose mount of the Hornet. So you have all sorts of weapons and missiles you can rent to take a look at. And the way rental equipment credits work is, like I said, you earn them in Arena Commander. And then when you rent these items, you get them for 7 play days. What that means is if you log in, that counts as 1 day. You get a 24-hour token. So 7 logins each new 24-hour period. So if you only log in 4 times a month, you only use 4 of those 7 days. If you log in every day of the week, you're going to use all 7 days in that time frame. However, the good news is before your rental is completely up, you can re-rent the item if you like it for, I believe it's 10% off. You can renew your rental. So if you're using it and you're using it in Arena Commander, chances are you are making enough rental equipment credits back that you can continually rent the weapons and systems that you like the most. So let's say I wanted to rent the Tarantula GT870. I click Add to Cart. It's going to say I need 900 rec. I click Checkout. Here's going to want me to log in. And from the login screen, it's simple. You log in, you're going to get your updated cart with your information on it. You click Checkout just like you would purchase anything else. You're going to have to check little boxes to say you're purchasing virtual goods. You pay with rec, and then it's going to appear in your hangar under ROMs. Now, the big question is, of course, what weapons do I rent for my ship? How do I choose which weapons? How do people ask me all the time, how do I decide what weapons I want to use? First of all, it's experience. I've got a lot of time in the game, and so I know which weapons feel right for me, which weapons fit my flight style. But also, there's knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge behind it, and that's where StarCitizenDB.com comes in handy. This is run by the folks at Renegade Squadron, specifically Malogos, who is one of the top pilots in-game. And one of the things he does is with every build, he pulls out all the information on the weapons, how they function, all the pertinent information such as muzzle velocity, which is how fast the projectile is flying when it leaves your gun or weapon, which is very important to know because the faster it is, the less of a lead you need to get when aiming. So a high muzzle velocity weapon fires almost straight ahead, whereas a low one, you have to really get a good lead on the target you're firing at. The damage per hit, the damage per second, the damage to shields, all these things are factored in. The firing time, the range, and you can find that by if you go to the Star Citizen DB database, you go to components, weapons, and then you look at the size that you're looking for. So let's say I'm looking for a size 3 fixed weapon. I have a Super Hornet. I've got 3 size 3 slots on it, and I'm a joystick pilot, so I want to go with fixed weapons rather than gimbaled. Why not? Because the size, if I go with fixed, I get size 3, which generally are going to put out more damage than if I went with gimbaled size 2. So here's the list of ones that are out there. Some of them include ones that you cannot use, like the Vandal laser repeater, the Xi'an laser cannon, etc. So you got to look through, and you also got to make sure. The Tiger Streak T21 is only limited to the Avenger. I can't use that. The Omni Sky 9 isn't in game yet. And then there's other ones like, I know the Pyro Burst is broken right now, so I'm not even going to look at that one. But let's say I'm interested in lasers. I want some sort of laser instead of ballistics. So I look for lasers. I've got the CF-227 Panther repeater, the M5A laser cannon, and that's pretty much it in size 3. So let's compare the two. I'm going to start with this M5A laser cannon. So look at all this information. It's got a graph of its performance, damage versus power and heat. This is one of the things about the M-series lasers is that they rarely overheat and they don't draw much power for the damage they put out. So that's a big bonus compared to other laser cannons. We notice that its firing rate is 160 shots per minute. Its damage over 180 seconds is 162 hit points per second. Over 60 seconds, 179. Over 20 seconds is 227. Why does that number increase the less time fired? Because less chance of it overheating or running out of energy and having to recharge. So its straight damage per second, not counting any of the limiters put on it, is 296 hit points per second. Its velocity is 2,170 meters per second. Its range is 1628 meters. So it's a pretty solid weapon. Well, let's compare it to the other one we have. Components, weapons, size 3, the Panther repeater. Well, now immediately, the Panther repeater, on its 20-second damage, it's doing 303. That's already more than the M5A was doing. It's got a slightly lower muzzle velocity, however, so it's not as easy to get it on target, but only about a 200 meters per second different, which is negligible for most pilots. It does, however, have a much higher range, so I can open up further away and I can do more damage with the caveat that I'm going to overheat and or run out of energy faster. So that's the choice I have to make. Do I want to do that? And then I also look at the rate of fire. This one does 450 shots per minute, whereas the previous one, let's load that up in a different window, did 160 shots per minute. So the repeater is basically a laser Gatling gun, whereas the laser cannon is more like a semi-automatic rifle. So the repeater does more shots per minute and does more damage per second overall. However, its power regeneration time is 7.78 seconds. That means it takes almost 8 seconds for it to regenerate power to full once it's drained. And it takes 10 seconds to drain it. And its cooling time is 24 seconds, meaning it takes 24 seconds to cool down when it's overheated, and it takes 24 seconds to overheat. So basically the damage sim I need to look at on this is the 20-second range, because after 20 seconds, after 10 seconds, I'm starting to run out of power and run out of heat, and I'm going to reach a point where I have to stop shooting to give it a chance to recharge. So 303 damage per second for 20 seconds is the best I can do. Now I go down and look at the M5A. Power drain time is still roughly the same, 11 seconds. Regen time is about the same. But overheat time is 30 seconds. And cool time is slightly less than that. So it can run a full 6 seconds longer. And I still have that 227 damage per second, but I can go for another 10 seconds or so. So I got to look back and forth of these and see which one I want. If you're going to be holding down the trigger a lot more often, perhaps the M5A is the better choice for you, even though it does less damage. And this is where you rent these and you test them out and you decide which one works for you. You swap them out. Maybe it's a mix of the two. The two mixed together can work well as well. Now, of course, there's other ones out there. I can look at the ballistics. Let's look at the 11 broadsword. 300 damage per second. Overheat time is 12 seconds. Cool time is 20 seconds. So it takes 12 seconds to overheat, but it takes almost twice as long to cool down once it has overheated. However, it doesn't use energy, so that's a bonus. It also has an amazing range of 5 kilometers. Almost 6 kilometers, 5.6 kilometers. But its velocity is a full 500 less than that of the M5A. So it's much harder to hit with this, so you got to lead it much farther. Why does that trade-off work? Why would I want to go with this over the energy weapons? Well, ballistic weapons also happen to have a bonus multiplier that no other weapon has right now. And that is that 60% of the damage, no matter what, is going to hit the hull of the ship. Your shield will only block 40% of the damage. So if this ballistic was doing 100 damage per second, 60 would get through every time, no matter what. Which means you can kill just about anything even when their shields are up. This is also, however, a feature that is temporary. There are mitigating factors coming into play here soon, and it could be as soon as 2.6, including variable amounts of damage that gets past the shields, possibly an inverse relationship, such as the more the shield is charged, the less damage gets through, as well as armor will come into play, and armor is designed specifically to block ballistics. And when armor is applied, you're going to get a different scenario as well. So those are things to take into account. I warn my viewers all the time to not rely on ballistics and not use them all the time. Try to use them as sparingly as possible, in fact, because they are going to change. And if you get used to something that is easy to kill with, you start to sacrifice your own flight skills because you don't need to focus on flight skills if all you got to do is get the shot on target. You lose your flight skills, you keep getting the shot on target, you get good because you're killing people, right? Well, then they change it. Are you good anymore? You're not really good anymore. Now you got to relearn. I highly recommend to my viewers that you stick with mostly energy or a mix of energy and ballistics, but do not go all ballistics right now. In fact, a mix of energy and ballistics is one of my favorite loadouts right now. It is 3 Panther repeaters on a Super Hornet and 2 Strife mass drivers, which are ballistics. And combined with, they can slaughter just about anything. So that's something to take into account. Once again, I highly recommend you do not focus on ballistics at this moment. I know it's tempting because it's easy to get kills with it, but that's going to change, and you're going to have to relearn how to fight when it does change for most players. Some of the better players out there, they can adapt right away. Your average player cannot adapt right away to these changes, and we see it every time a patch comes out that changes an overpowered mechanic, that a whole bunch of players just basically stop playing, or they go from being top players to people that die at the drop of a hat. So once again, the website to help you determine what weapon you want to choose is starcitizendb.com, and that will be down in the video description. One last thing on the rental of weapons. To see how much time you have left in your current rentals, you go to My RSI, My Hangar, scroll down to My ROMs. Under My ROMs, you've got electronic access, and it lists all the ones you have rented and how many day tokens are left. Like 666. Looks like I recently re-rented all of mine. And if you run into one that needs to be renewed, like these Strife Mass Drivers, you click on Renew for 800. Remember how I said there's a difference? I believe I originally rented these for 1,000. So it's 20% savings, it looks like, on this one. I don't know. 10% to 20% is usually what it is. So you click Renew, and it goes through a very similar process as before. Let's go ahead and renew these Mass Drivers. It's going to ask me for my password. And you click Renew, and it does it automatically. Today, it's renewed. And now I've got 11 days left because I just added 7 onto my 4. Okay, so another question commonly asked. Now that we have the weapons, how do we mount them? How do we know what size weapons our ships mount? Well, you go into your hangar. And it'll take a minute to load. Okay, so you're in your hangar. For most of you, it probably means it's just a big empty room. First of all, you got to find your ships so you can equip them. To do that, if you walk around the hangar, you're going to start to see these little blue balls. They say type, vehicle, size 1 to 2, item, blank. The type is obvious. That's where you can put a vehicle. The size is obvious. It's a vehicle of size 1 or 2, or what we consider small vehicles, single seaters or dual seaters. Item blank means there's nothing there yet. Point your crosshair at it so it's highlighted. Click the left mouse button, and you're going to get a list of your current ships available. So let's pull up my Anvil Hornet F7C. There we go. My Hornet's loaded in. Now, for the most part, you're probably going to see your ship with the default weapons. In this case, from this Hornet, it would be 2 Badgers on size 2 gimbals, but I've stripped those off already, including even the center mount. So I need to know what I can put on my Hornet before I go out and rent it. What I need to do is I need to find the weapons mounts. Okay, weapon or type, turret comma gun, size 1 to 3. Well, that's pretty specific. It says I can mount a turret or a gun of a size 1 to 3 there. Now, the only turrets you can mount on these single mounts are gimbals, which are the manually controlled turrets that drop the maximum size down by 1, but give you the ability to manually control your weapons. So I can do a 1 to 3 here. Where else can I put stuff? Did you know that there's a gun mount on the nose of your Hornets? Most people don't realize that until they start messing around with the port modification tool. But there's another size 3 on there. And then here, and once again, it says turret gun size 1 to 3. If it says size 1 to 3, that means if I click on it, I could put a size 1 gun on there without a gimbal mount. I can just make it a fixed size 1. For example, the NN13 neutron cannon is a fixed size 1 gun. But if it just says size 3, like this one, that means to put a smaller size gun on there, I got to start doing some tricks. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First of all, it says turret gun size 3, item blank. I click on it with left mouse button. That's going to bring up a menu of all the items that are capable of being attached on here. Now, I will caution you. When you look at these items, you'll see plenty that say attached to none if you've rented them. You also see ones that say attached to other ships. Don't pull them directly from the other ship using this interface. Go to that other ship first, remove the item manually from that ship, then come back to this one and put it on. The reason why I say this is because The persistent universe database is still in development and is quite buggy. And sometimes if you pull items from one ship to another, it doesn't properly update. The game's not sure which ship it's supposed to be on, and it won't spawn it in. So we're going to use, first of all, we want to put a size 2 on here, we've decided. So we're going to take a size 3 gimbal and attach it just by clicking. Now, if we click up here, we can see the actual original port, turret, gun, size 3, item, size 3, gimbal. Scroll down to the gimbal and we see type, gun, size 2. It's a mount for a size 2 gun. And now we can put the size 2 gun we want to put on there. In this case, I want to put a Badger repeater. There we go. I've got my Badger on there. Ta-da! Simple as that. I can go through and do this with all of my item ports. I put Badgers on this one. I can make a monoboat, etc. So I've got all that set up. I'm ready to go. That's how you mount your weapons. Same with your missiles. You find the missile rack. It says type, ordnance, size. What's the maximum size you can have on it? In this case, it's size 1. So I click on it. I get a list of all the size 1 missiles available to me right now. And I can choose which one I want to put on there. It's really simple. It's a little tedious if you're like me and you like to swap loadouts on a regular basis. But once you get used to it, you'll find that it's simple to use, it's convenient, and there's other things you can swap out, such as your power plants, your cooling systems, and you can actually, some ships have special items you can swap out, such as the center turret on the Hornet. You can swap that with the fixed turret or with a ball turret taken from a Super Hornet. And that's it. We have gone through the basics of where to rent the weapons, how to choose what weapon works for your ship, and how to mount them on your ship. At this point, it's really up to you as the player to go out and experiment with these combinations, ask your fellow citizens what they think of certain weapons, and no matter what we tell you, ultimately it's going to be what weapon feels right for you. So go out there, earn some rec in Arena Commander, spend that rec, and have some fun doing it. And just remember that these weapons and these ships are going to change from patch to patch, so don't get so tied in and locked into one that if it gets changed and it doesn't work anymore, you're heartbroken. There's always something else out there. Keep messing around, keep learning. Don't just focus on one all the time. And until next time, I'll see you in the verse.